Thank you everyone for coming out today. Sorry for the delay. I'd like to thank the Quispamsis Police for their presence to ensure safety. We've allowed some protesters in because we believe in free speech. Please don't interrupt me. Please stop interrupting me. We've allowed you into our space. Please stop interrupting. You're disrupting the event. It's a paid event. Thank you, sir. Please stop interrupting. So we stand up for free speech. We've allowed people who oppose us in here, which is fine, but we ask them to respect everyone and allow everyone to have a point of view.
I refuse to respect your stand. I have read your policies. They are atrocious.
Okay. Could you please leave the room?
No.
Please leave the room. You're disrupting the event.
No.
Please leave the room.
No. If you want us removed, then the police can do their job. We're not leaving.
Stop interrupting the event. You're disrupting.
You stop talking.
You're interrupting the event. I'm asking you once more, please stop interrupting the event.
Okay, so you stop talking.
Please stop interrupting the event.
You just stop talking and I ask.
Please stop interrupting the event.
I want to ask a question.
There's people here who want to listen. You're interrupting.
Yes, we are.
And when you stop talking,
Okay.
I ask you a question.
Please,
What about the UN peacekeeping veterans that you have maligned?
please leave the venue. Thank you, sir. Please leave this venue.
And attack UN peacekeeping.
Please leave the venue.
Wounded veterans.
Please go outside. We'll talk to you outside. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Feel free to give us a donation as well. Anyone else want to leave?
Thank you, Lee. I'm staying.
Okay, we're going to continue. Please, everyone, be respectful. Thank you.
Coming from you?
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, would you please leave now?
No.
We've heard you enough now. Could you please leave? Please go out there. We're asking you nicely to leave. We'll talk to you in the hallway.
I'm saying no.
We're asking, you're disrupting an event, so please leave.
No.
You've interrupted us 5 times now.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Don't thank me. I'm here to stand against you and your hateful rhetoric.
Thank you, officers. The NCA became registered on January 30th, 2019. The party's been in the works for a number of years. The core of NCA is its policies and platforms. We encourage you to go onto our website, National Citizens Alliance, review them, give us your feedback. We rely on public feedback. The premise of NCA is Canadians first, the #1 premise. There's many Canadians that are falling through the cracks. We don't want that up here, please. We're not promoting that organization.
It's not going to be on film, so.
Yeah. NCA is highly tolerant party,
Steve.
as everyone has seen over the last couple of weeks. We're highly tolerant, and those are the values of what has made Canada what it is. But we're losing that. We saw that today in St. John, didn't we? The hate and intolerance, we saw it in Truro yesterday. All the hate and intolerance. We saw it in Halifax. It's sickening, isn't it? This isn't the Canada we grew up with. It's not the Canada we grew up with. Myself, If I go back 30 years, I would have never imagined this in Canada, ever. Maybe I didn't have the foresight. But again, I emphasize the policies. That's the core of NCA because that's the basis for sound decision making. It's also our platform for the country. You can see what we stand for, whether you agree with it or not. Compare it to the mainstream parties, that's all we ask. But the bottom line is all about Canadians first. There's a number, many Canadians that are being left behind. Our seniors, our veterans, our homeless, our unemployed, especially our unemployed. They're being replaced with third world migrants coming in because the corporations now want cheap labor. We should be reinvesting into Canadians to find work, to retrain them. They're being left behind. And we believe it's because of greed and profit. Whole generations are missed. They can't find work. I talk to people on the phone almost every day about this. They're in their 40s and they're unemployed. Their lives are passing them by. And that's why we say reduced immigration. We want to have a focus on retraining Canadians. We want to have a focus on putting energy back into the country. We figure there's 14% unemployment in Canada. The government rate is way undervalued in our opinion. We have reports that support that. But I'm not going to talk all day here. I will talk at the end. I want to introduce you to John Evans. John, will you please come up? John is the NCA MP candidate for funding.
Excuse me, a few questions? Or
We will at the end. But John's going to make a statement. John Evans.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you all for coming. I wonder what this means. Canada is stronger without immigrants, or with immigrants, sorry. NCA believes that immigrants are needed. We believe that. I don't know where people find in our policies that we don't want immigrants. We want immigrants to come into our country that want to be Canadians and are not sitting here collecting off the dole, as they say. We need Canadians that want to work here in Canada, want to help Canada become better, and be number one. Nobody's ever said that we don't want immigrants, but we can't afford, on our Canadian budget, 300,000 or 200,000 immigrants every year. And who's going to help train them? Are you going to help train them?
Sounds like a good job for someone.
Have you got any live next door to you?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I work with them every day.
Well, that's good. And what are you doing helping them?
I work at a print shop and we do a lot of printing for folks and they run their own businesses. We run immigration forms and papers for people. They're entrepreneurs. They're not taking other people's jobs. They're starting new jobs for other
And
people.
how many is that? How many people?
Dozens.
As many as come here. That's kind of silly. That as many as that come here.
You're
300,000.
You're importing American-style far-right xenophobic politics into a country where it doesn't belong.
Well, we have a government right now that doesn't allow you your say, doesn't allow you your say, or the police officers their say, any of you guys, you don't get your say. Because they decide what's going to be done.
Exactly.
Now, what about having people come into this country who are checked out as far as their health care, their criminal records, their education, and their work background? Is that so bad?
Are you asking these people questions, or are we allowed to ask you questions?
I'm asking them a question.
He's asking, hold on a
We're allowing
second.
the people who are seeking the vote will take questions from the audience. You don't often see people who vote to become politicians asking questions of the audience. And just do it the way you want, guys, but that's not the way it normally works.
Well,
just so you know.
we're not the norm. Okay, thank you, sir. And we don't want to be the norm.
So what's your answer?
Why do I care what this guy thinks?
Okay,
I wanna
relax.
ask you a question.
Please let the MP speak. MP candidate speak.
What's your question?
Okay, So I've often heard conservative commentators in the United States, these are Republicans, so people who are on the right hand of the spectrum in the United States, which tends to be to the right on the spectrum globally, okay? They pointed to Canada as a sort of merit-based immigration system that is desirable. Are you folks saying that it's not desirable?
The system it's not working now. I'll tell you why, okay? There's 11-year backlog to begin with, that's growing. 11 years. 11-year back, can I finish? Thank you, sir. 11-year backlog of applicants wanting to get into Canada. 11-year backlog. Another thing is chain migration. All the problems with chain migration, all these aging immigrants coming in, it's costing a fortune. Right now, according to a study at Simon Fraser University, new immigrants are $40 billion a year taxation negative. That means they're consuming more services than taxes paid to the tune of $40 billion a year. Immigration administration federally is costing over $24 billion a year. And we haven't even talked about illegal migration and the issues with legal migration, putting them up in hotels, streaming in. You know why they're coming in? All the welfare handouts, access to health care, all that. That's the reason. There's a gravy train to come in. The government is prioritizing these people over our own people. That's the issue we have. We're not against immigrants. But those are factual numbers, and I'll give you another one here to think about. Since the 1990s, immigrants into Canada, 50% of them live in poverty, enough government handouts. That's the truth. This system is not working. And I've talked to immigrants from India, from Asia, you name it, I've talked to them. They're angry about the mass immigration. There's foreign students coming in, hundreds of thousands. We have immigration professionals that work with the party, but they're coming in, working under the table for cash. An immigrant who's gone through the process now, like for example, India, they can't find work because they can't compete, because they're competing against someone that's going for cash under the table.
Okay, so
these are some of the realities of immigration right now, and I've only just touched them.
I've been to Toronto, I've been to Vancouver, I've been to Montreal, I've been to Calgary, all in the last 3 years. These are all cities that have experienced mass immigration over the prior decades. They're all wealthy, prosperous cities.
No.
This
Hold on.
Toronto is a wealthy, prosperous city. If you can't admit that, you're not gonna be-
No way. Our data totally refutes that. There's about 1 million Torontonians now. Hold on a sec. This is actual fact. There's about 1 million Torontonians that depend on the food banks. Right now in Toronto.
Why are you
1 million.
moving to Alberta on a weekly, monthly basis? Because I don't understand that.
1 million Torontonians, think about this, grasp it. 1 million in Toronto right now depend on food banks. And you're saying it's working?
You're telling me that you think the economy in New Brunswick is more prosperous than the economy in Toronto?
No.
That it's built.
Doesn't matter. I'm talking about the overall welfare of
It
people.
is the most multicultural city in the world.
1 million depend on food banks.
I can't dispute the number.
There's tens of thousands.
I go to Toronto, I see wealthy people driving expensive cars, beautiful architecture, vibrant culture. This province is experiencing a systemic demographic collapse. The only solution to that is increased immigration.
Oh my.
No.
Oh my God.
Listen, there's over 30,000 Torontonians that live on the street. Okay? There's almost 1 million dependent on food banks. So you're looking at the wealthy in Toronto. And every city has wealthy people. But we look at all Canadians in a city. And especially we look at the most vulnerable. And it's getting worse. Between 1980 and 2000, there was a 300% increase in homelessness. And that's during the time of mass immigration. So look at your numbers. I gave you a bunch of data already.
Are you familiar with the demographic situation in New Brunswick?
I'm familiar with,
Okay, can we solve that problem without increased immigration?
I'd have to look at it closer. I'm aware myself as a federal leader, I'm aware of the demographic
I'm
situation.
talking here in New Brunswick.
Okay, hold on a second. I'm aware of the demographic situation across Canada.
That doesn't help us.
And the reality of that democratic situation is that traditional populations of Canada are being replaced by visible ethnic minorities. That is a fact.
That is utterly ridiculous.
That is a fact. It's proven by Dr. Kaufman. You're interrupting. You're gonna have to say.
You're claiming.
Hold on a sec, sir. Let me finish.
Is better off than Toronto.
Let me finish. Calm down. Calm down.
That's
Take a
ridiculous.
breath. Calm down, sir.
Paid to be here.
Yeah.
Calm down. It's proven by Dr. Kaufman out of University of London.
I'm talking about New Brunswick. New Brunswick has a very, very specific situation. More people are dying in New Brunswick than being born every year. Just on a mathematical basis, that's a problem.
Nationally,
Talk about the province
hold on a
that you're
second.
in.
Hold on a second. I want to put this in context.
You want us to elect this guy in Fundy Royal?
Why in God's name would we have any
Listen.
interest in
Let him
people that know
listen.
nothing about us?
Let them listen. Nationally,
Is this guy running national or is he running under Royal?
he's running in Fundy Royal.
Maybe we can talk to him.
What do you have to say about
He has
funding
half of
and the economy and immigration in New Brunswick?
Why are you wearing sunglasses indoors?
Sir,
Did any of
are you
you,
aware of the demographic situation in New Brunswick?
Let him finish. Just a minute. Let him talk.
did you have any say in the federal government who pours money into this province and every other province across Canada? Did you have any say in their $3,300 pay raise?
That's not what I don't care about.
He's asking you.
I'm asking you.
No, again, you're running, I asked you the question.
He's asking you.
I'm asking you a question.
Guys, you don't understand what
It's not all about you. It's not all about you.
I'm gonna,
Yeah, go ahead. Do whatever you
so
want.
the message is, voters, it's not all about.
It's not all about a single voter dominating.
But does it,
So
I'm asking you a
go ahead,
question.
John.
So if you didn't have any say in Elena Lockhart getting a $3,300 raise, and if you were a pensioner and a veteran like myself who got a $24 raise, do you see any difference or any problem in that picture? Do you see any problem in it?
Are you talking about are you running in the federal election or the provincial election? What you're talking about right now has absolutely nothing to do with federal politics.
It's
You don't even know
It
about
does.
the province that you're in.
Let him finish.
Oh God, let's use the documents.
True.
So the reality, sir, I want to get back to your, no, it's a valid, I just want to put it in context. And we just came across this data, fortunately.
Your man should be able to answer this question.
He's listening. And that's what every politician should do. He
But
listens.
he wasn't in the ballpark of trying to answer.
You see, he's listening. So give him a chance.
Okay, can I ask
All
a
right?
question?
I just want to, I want to get back to your demographic question.
Can I ask the question as a straight, honest to God?
Sure, go ahead.
Sir,
Yeah.
can you tell me how New Brunswick is supposed to grow and prosper financially with the oldest population and quickest aging population in Canada if we reduce immigration? Every other politician I've heard, and it's the only story that makes sense, is that we desperately need to increase immigration if we're going to be able to sustain the sort of public services that we enjoy now. Because as people
If you want to
retire,
get close to it, I'm going to tell you.
okay,
We need immigrants like crazy. But we need immigrants that are willing to work, willing to train, willing to have homes, and become assimilated within Canada.
Okay.
And we're not getting
no,
that.
we are. I was at my kid's graduation last week, okay? They gave out awards for the highest achieving students at the school. The immigrant children are doing very well.
Good, I'm glad to hear that. But like
Oh, you want me to do that?
Out of 300,000 immigrants that come in, you're not getting 100,000 that are willing to assimilate into the Canadian way of life.
They're assimilating. I see them in my neighborhood.
No.
There's Korean families here working hard.
Yeah, but mass immigration doesn't allow Mark. When you like, if I know
No.
here,
He calls us all assholes for the record. He calls us all assholes on Facebook before he comes here. I
There
know
are
he's not.
Korean families in my neighborhood. Chinese families. They're
Mark,
working hard.
it's a mass immigration, but when you flood the population, that overwhelms the
It's not
cultural
over.
identity that
It's
we have. You don't get it, man. You can't-
Okay, let's get control of this. We need control of this.
Are you running?
Answer my question.
Okay, sir, hold on a sec. I want to get back to your question.
Yes.
We just came across data nationally, and there's a myth that Canada's natural population is declining. We uncovered a report, actually, out of all places, the UN, which proves irrefutably that we're actually growing naturally 294 new Canadians every single day. However, regarding New Brunswick, I was not familiar with that negative. You're claiming there's a negative.
More people.
Hold on a second, more die. So I'm asking you, if you're serious about this issue, we'd be grateful if you could send your facts to us, and so we can look at it.
Don't you have immigration professionals? Isn't that
We
what you
do,
said?
we
And
do.
they've never looked
We're
at
looking at federal
numbers.
numbers. But we don't believe his numbers. We want them sent to us, and we will fact check them.
Stats Canada, buddy.
Well, send it to us. What do you have?
It's on the internet.
Send it. So what's the number?
Statistics.
What's the number of deaths per verse in New Brunswick?
1 second.
Make sure it's updated, eh? Yes, sir, right here.
I have a question. So, I don't know, I see in the media people saying that you guys are against LGBTQ, but when I've looked on your website, it says that you support it. So I want to hear directly from you your stance on it.
Yeah, 100%. We support their rights as any other Canadian. That's the first policy statement on our website. The second one, we support their right in the workplace free from harassment. 100%. Those are the cornerstones of that policy. Where we get into trouble is we don't recognize the civil union as a marriage. We recognize, hold on a sec here, we recognize traditional marriage, but we believe they should have the same rights as a married couple within a civil union. So, you know, it's semantics there, you could argue, right? So they're still getting the
Semantics at
same.
all. That's absurd. That's not semantics.
Well, that's our policy. You don't have to vote for us, okay? And another thing that we take exception is with indoctrination of children as young as 5 years old and teaching them progressive identity, gender theory. We don't think that should be taking place. Leave it up to the parents. But that's what's going on, especially in British Columbia. We're very concerned about that. It's actually a direct attack on the family union.
I think they're bringing it into the schools, if I'm not
They
mistaken.
are,
They're trying
they
to,
are.
yeah,
And it's
the little children.
It's basically state indoctrination of that theory, but we don't support that. We obviously will discourage that. But I have to stress, we respect their rights. They work here, they deserve the same rights. They pay taxes.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just
100%. They do not deserve to be harassed in the workplace, and we'll fight that steadfast.
You just said they don't have a right to marry them.
They do have a right to marry, but we call it a civil union.
Not the same thing.
It's the same rights as a marriage, but we just call it civil union.
Did you know the Liberal Party already chose red for their color, by the way?
This is a different color red. It's actually, theirs is a darker red. This is consistent with the Canadian flag. And they don't have a monopoly on that color. So tell them to sue us if they want. We'll fight them in court.
It could be confusing for voters.
Doesn't matter. This is the color of the cup.
You guys should publish your CMYK colors online so people know.
This is the color of the Canadian flag. Theirs is a dark red, not consistent with the Canadian flag. Our color is. So there you go. So tell them to sue us if they have an issue. Sir?
Oh, I was just calling him to be quiet so that we can listen to the
Yeah,
responses.
So this thing on the LGBT, it's been taken out of context, and we actually had LGBTQ contacts and praise us for not getting caught up in all the political correctness. They felt our policy was balanced, it was fair, and they don't want all the attention on them. So, and actually, someone from that community helped us write it and gave us policy feedback. Because we didn't, we want to make sure, it's good to go to them and get their feedback, especially when the policy is about them. So that's what we did. It's just like our Aboriginal, we consult Aboriginals about our Aboriginal policy, get their feedback.
I'm gonna come over here.
Can you tell me who consulted for that, which Aboriginal group?
There was a chief we consulted and
What was his
Métis chief.
What's his name?
Just leave it at a Métis chief. We consulted other indigenous federations.
Which ones?
I'm not going to go into the details of my sources we talked to, but look at the important thing is to look at the Aboriginal policy.
The Maliseet, we've been in contact with the Maliseet up in Madawaska area.
Okay, I know them. Can you tell me which one you spoke to?
No, we're not
yes.
giving any names out of the people we talked to, but look at the policy. That's the important thing. And if you disagree with it, let us know. We want to hear from you. That's what it's about.
Look at your numbers. So between the 2011 census and the 2016 census, the population, it runs a decline from 751,171 to 747,101, a decline of approximately 4,000 people.
Okay, so is that your evidence? Is that your evidence?
Yes.
Okay, so you're overlooking some things there, and I'm going to help you with it. What you're overlooking is the net outflow of people from New Brunswick, which is part of that? Or are you strictly looking at births and deaths then?
So that's a difference in population.
Doesn't matter. Difference in population, it doesn't necessarily pertain to births and deaths. Because what you can have is outflow of people to other provinces,
Certainly, but that
to other countries. Hold on a sec here. So we don't know if it's births and deaths. So I just found out now what you said was not accurate, sir. You're assuming it's birth and deaths, but it may be just a net outflow. People going to the oil patch in Alberta.
What's the difference?
And working. Hold on a sec here. I'm just correcting your information you said earlier. You made it very clear that there was a negative population growth in terms of birth and deaths. You haven't provided that. But we will look into it, sir.
I'll get that one too. Hold on one
We
second.
will, well, you didn't provide that. So what the issue in New Brunswick, and I think I have enough knowledge of the Maritimes, I've been here enough. There's a net flow of people looking for work. And the issue is there's not enough jobs to keep people in the province. That's the problem.
Yep.
And I don't see how bringing all these migrants in there is going to help things. Especially when a lot of them end up looking for jobs, unemployment, and all that stuff, sucking more resources.
I got forced.
So they're going to have to get a better strategy together.
I got forced out of my job.
Yeah, he's a living
Okay,
example.
I'm from this region. I'm from St. John, but I know Quispamsis very well. Grew up here, born and bred. And I worked for the District 8 School Board for 25 years. I retired about maybe 8-9 years ago. Health problems and all the joys of getting older. Anyway, so with my meager pension, I had no choice. I had to go back to work. I did find a job working at a daycare up in Dieppe. I was there for about a year, and I loved it. I worked my arse off. That's not a lie. It's just the way I am. I've always been. I'm proud to be a hard-working Canadian. And when I started working there, I have no problem with immigrants. I just want to get that out at the start. My fiance is from the Philippines. She's a brown girl from the Philippines, okay? So if you want to go ahead and call me anti-immigrant, and yet I got a fiance that's from the Philippines, well, okay, we'll just leave that at that. So anyway, when I started working at the daycare, there was a staff of about 15, 18 workers, and we had maybe 2 or 3 immigrants, no problem, we got along great. One was a Muslim girl. The other two, I think, were from Ethiopia and Nigeria. Everybody got along great. And then the government decided to start this program where they approach employers and they say if you hire immigrants over local Canadians, they will pay their first 3 months' wages. This is the truth. This is the truth. There is a program going on right now where they are forcing the Canadians out. I end up getting pushed out of my job.
Yeah, that's a real life example here
I've
in.
got the birth and death figures.
Here
In
in
2017, there were 656 more people died in New Brunswick than were born.
Okay.
It's 2017. So how do
Oh,
we
that's pretty small. So that's because that's over a year, isn't it?
But the problem with that is that every year the population gets older, the deaths are going to go up and the births are going to go down.
Hold on a sec here. I just want to fact check what you're saying there. Actually, in Canada, we actually researched this. It has the lowest population, 65 years or plus, in the G7. Lowest number.
And New Brunswick has the highest population of 65 plus in the country.
Well, we're going to have to fact check that one as well. But you got to remember, so the theory proves here, Adrian, that what's happening is there's a net outflow of New Brunswickers. It's not because of the death birth cycle.
It's that too, it's both.
It's part of that. That is part of the equation there.
It's both.
It's part of that, but it seems like there's more of a net outflow because people are looking for work. They can't find work in New Brunswick. When you add the immigrants in here, it's adding to the unemployment issues. It's sucking more services. So think about it. It's a complex subject, and it's something that needs to be looked at. But always looking for immigrants as the answer to our prosperity is not always there. We need to look in and see how we can be more productive.
Until it's either get immigrants or have 65-year-olds to start having more babies.
Yeah.
No.
The bottom line for us, NCA is pro oil and gas, and we will do everything we can to encourage the Eastern oil and gas within the environmental, as much environmental safety as possible.
Provincial jurisdiction, you guys have no control.
Doesn't matter, we're going to influence that, and if we have a mega project, we're going to push it through. And we know how the equalization payouts work. So you're not going to take with that one hand and deny with the other. So we have the federal actually has the jurisdiction on mega economic projects. There's been too much pandering to interest groups in this country, and many Canadians are suffering for it. In the Maritimes, Newfoundland in particular, and we all know about Alberta, what's going on there with the incredible unemployment there. We've got incredible resources in this country. We need to tap into them efficiently and use them for our prosperity, our future of our children. It's just they're not going away now. Fossil fuels are not going away. We have the third largest oil reserve in the world. We need to tap into it responsibly. We need refineries in Canada, major refineries. That's something NCA supports. Getting a pipeline is not the answer. We're sending out raw crude to the US, or it could be China, and they're charging it back to us double. So how are we benefiting? And the reason we don't have the major refineries in Canada like Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, because these politicians have caved into the international oil companies. And they want it down in US Texas with the big refineries, and they want the jobs down there. They already have the refineries down there. This is a no-brainer. We need to keep the jobs in the country, process the oil here, and sell it. And then we'll see the prosperity in this country.
On that note, I've got a question for you.
Sure, go ahead, sir.
Do you support the Canada East pipeline bringing oil to St. John?
It's one of them. There's also, that's Energy East, right?
I've got another question as well.
There's a bunch of pipelines, but we don't think pipelines, it should be, the emphasis should be on major refineries.
Right.
Because again, we're just pumping out unprocessed oil, bitumen.
Yeah, well, we have one of the, I think it's the second largest refinery in North America here in St. John. But anyways, I think
Yeah, the
that's-
Irving plant.
Yeah, Irving, that's a great idea.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
so that would make sense.
secondly, kind of backing up towards this guy's reasoning with regards to population decreases, what's your stance on banning abortions? And also, the second part to that question is, what about a tax rebate or a tax shelter for people who have 3 children or more, or 4 children or more? No income tax for those mothers.
Yeah.
100%, 100%. Yeah, we're on the same wavelength.
Could those things actually reverse the numbers that this guy, Mark McKelvey back here?
100%, 100%.
But why not look at and focus on the ways that we can increase our own population? That includes the Asians and the people that are already here, right? We're not talking about an anti, a racist thing. This is what these clowns keep saying that NCA is about, is racism, and they really don't see the actual truth to it.
That's right.
No, those are really good comments. We actually have a policy. It is a demographic fact. I can provide Dr. Kaufman, Dr. Zashin, they've written books on this.
Yes, I'm reading that book now.
And Dr. Kaufman, we actually have it on our website, and we recommend it for reading. It's called The White Shift. This guy is a left-wing academic. He's always in the New York Times and etc. But he says there is a shift going on because of the mass immigration. It's a demographic reality. And I encourage people to go look at the facts. That's why we encourage larger traditional families, and we will provide the tax incentives you're talking about. They're already doing it in Hungary.
Right.
They're getting tax-free, and that's something NCA is looking at here. Because we believe our founding people have a right to be in this country. And we believe they should be the majority of this country. They should not be pushed into a minority. And the founding people, go to the Government Canada website and they will tell you who the founding people are. They're the British, the French, the First Nations, and you can add in other European Canadians into that. And that is a historical fact. But they are being replaced. This is not made up. And I'd be happy to provide the academic factual data to anyone on the demographic transformation that's going on.
Can I just add one more
Go ahead.
comment to that?
Yeah.
By the way, you mentioned Ricardo Duchesne's book, Canada in Decay, which I recommend everybody read here if you want to learn more about what we're talking about. I think he explains a lot using facts, data from StatsCan and whatnot, and links that you can back up and look at the resources of information that show you the truth about what you're talking about. But he also states in there, and I think this is really, it was a shocker when I read it. He states early on in the book that no other country in the world has tried open mass immigration. And it's true. And there's countries that are attempting it right now, and it's a disaster. France is in chaos right now. No other country in the world has tried mass open immigration. Folks, you people should really think about it and do some research. And you can't go back in time and say, look, it works because of this. It's never been done. It's never been done, and you're not talking about that. But anyway,
No, it's an excellent point. No, we just need to look to Europe to look at the outcome. Look at Germany. They're actually paying people to leave now.
Yeah.
They're actually paying them to leave. It's unbelievable. But, the mass immigration, there's so many different layers to it. Like, I'll give you an example. Ever since the mass immigration, since the 90s under Mulroney, and it's just increased from there, wages have been stagnant. The problem is inflation has been like this.
True.
$1 in 1973, they had the same purchasing power of 1973, $100. Today you need over $500. That's why people can't make ends meet, but we've got to get our people back to work. There's so many unemployed, the numbers are skewed. They're saying it's 5.6, 6%. We believe, we read reports, they're undervaluing it's up to 14%. Probably in New Brunswick, you're probably looking at 18, 20% unemployment in New Brunswick. We figure. But the reality, what's happening, when you bring in all these migrants in, job competition is more, wages are being pushed down, That's reality. And what we're seeing in Canada, it's troubling. And we see it on the ground. Families got to work 2 jobs, 3 jobs, no benefits. All these corporations, the mayor in St. John today, he was saying we got to bring more immigrants. You know what's going on, I think. This is just my opinion here. Some of these corporations are in our ear and they want them. They don't care about the Canadian worker. They don't want to invest in the Canadian worker. That's what's going on. Just bring us cheap foreign labor. They don't give us any trouble. We can pay them less. That's what's going on. It's not just Liberals, too. Hold on a sec, sir. In Ontario, in Alberta, where I'm from, that Jason Kenney, I view him as a globalist. He's bringing 10,000 third world migrants into rural Alberta every single year. Rural Alberta is struggling, high unemployment. Yet he's going to flood all these third world migrants in there. That is wrong. Ford in Ontario, don't get fooled by the colors. He's part of a federal pilot study to pump in third world migrants into Ontario. New Brunswick is part of that program. They're pumping it into New Brunswick. This is all backwards, everyone. And this has nothing to do with anti-immigration or anything like that. I have friends of all different colors. I've traveled to India. I've actually been to Pakistan. Because I'm like any other Canadian. I'm curious. I go there. I respect when I'm there.
We have this Syrian.
Now I'm in, this is my home.
Yeah.
They're coming here and telling me how to live.
We have that Syrian woman, right, that just joined our party. She fled from
It was
Syria.
a woman from Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia, I'm sorry, yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
What's going to happen to the unemployment rate when you lay off 50% of the federal civil service?
There's going to be a net benefit tax reduction on top of that, which is going to spearhead entrepreneurship in Canada. And that's going to be a graduated program. I mean, you can't just lay them off. There's unions in Ottawa.
You said within the first year.
Yeah, we're going to try and do that. That's a goal of ours. It's always good to shoot high, and we fall a bit short. We will keep at it.
What would be the severance payments to those workers when you...
We're going to have to negotiate that with the unions. I'm not going to give you specifics right now. But there's also a way when they're ready for retirement. We just don't rehire. There's different ways to deal with a bloated bureaucracy.
People don't negotiate severance. They sue, and then a judge orders severance. That's how it works.
Sometimes they're offered in, sir. Sometimes they're offered in. Another way to deal with it is attrition.
Yep.
When they hire, you just don't rehire. So,
but that's not going to get you to 50% of the year.
We're going to reach, like I said, we set a goal. We're going to try and make it.
But you're not going to make it through.
Well, we're going to try. If you don't do it, we'll do it the next year.
You honestly think you're going to try to let go half of this federal civil service?
That's our goal.
In 1 year.
That's our goal.
I've heard enough. Thank you.
That's our goal, sir. It's an ambitious goal, and we're going to try our hardest. If we fall short, we fall short. And I want to touch on, we're not against the public service, but this bureaucracy is way overloaded. It's resulting in more tax dollars, higher taxes for Canadians. Thank you, sir, for your questions. Have a great evening, sir. Excellent stuff. Anything else from you folks?
I'm just going to go adjust my camera.
Can you clarify something you said to the gentleman earlier? That you're 100% in favor of banning abortions?
Who said that?
He asked about banning abortion,
Oh, no.
tax cuts for big families.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
No. We respect the right of the woman to decide. Our approach to abortion is a balanced approach. We want to encourage adoption whenever possible.
So the woman can decide?
Yes, the woman has the final decision. But we want, as a federal government, we would encourage adoption and even pay a woman to carry a child so it can be adopted.
The present government that we have right now, they look at abortion as a
What's that?
birth control. And that's not right.
It directly contributes to the population problem that we have.
What's that? Yeah, exactly. So the major thrust of the NCA policy is to encourage abortion, also responsible safe sex. We want to encourage that, and also give the woman the right, and obviously in consultation with her doctor, her husband, or if she even has one.
He's got a question, Rick.
Is it true? I've read somewhere that there was sort of a payment if the woman had brought the baby to term and put it up for adoption.
Yes, that's how serious we're about it. We will pay a woman to cover expenses to carry the child to term, so that child can have a life.
But you won't support somebody who already is alive in a different country that wants to move here.
We're not a charity to the world, I'm sorry. There's a really good video you should look at. It's called the Gumball Video on Population. And what it shows is that the world outside of Canada, the video is based in the US, but look at the Gumball video. It's incredible what they did. They showed the world population and compared to Canada. Even if Canada was taking, let's say Canada took in 1 million immigrants every year. Imagine that. That would have almost no impact on the world's population. That's how big the world is outside. Look at that video. But we can't be a charity of the world. We have so many Canadians in need. And I wish that guy was here, because we got to retrain our workers. And you know who's being left behind? Our seniors. There's so many talented seniors with incredible life experience, and they're being completely overlooked for jobs. We have to encourage a hiring campaign of seniors in Canada. These people have a lot to offer, and we gotta push that. I don't know why the private sector is ignoring them. I can't believe it.
We have veterans.
Our seniors want to work.
Yep.
And they need to work, a lot of them. We have so many students. What about our students in debt? The debt load on students is, I think it's over 30 billion now across the country, student debt loans. What prospects do they have? They're out looking for work. They're bringing in third-world migrants for those jobs. Everything is upside down in our opinion. The problem is these corporations are, you get the mayor, I believe in St. John, he gets the little talk in the ear from the big company down the street. They want more migrant workers, cheaper. They can't, maybe their English isn't good, they just come and work, they make more money. That's what's going on. Go ahead, sir.
Just curious what you're basing your assumptions on the mayor on.
I told you that's just opinion, because I've seen it before.
So you're just making it up, right?
No, I'm assuming, I don't know for sure about that, but I've seen it.
No.
It's my opinion.
Because you have an opinion on who's talking to a person that did or did not happen, so if you don't know that it happened, then you're making it up.
Well, I've seen it in other cases.
Not in this case.
If it's not, I stand corrected.
I don't know that it's true either.
Yeah, it's something that's come. I've seen it in other municipalities.
Keep talking.
I've seen it, so, and I made it very clear it was my opinion. That's what I think is going on, but I don't know for sure.
What's the basis?
Oh, it's based on my experience with dealing with other municipalities and seeing it, provincial leaders and whatever, federal even. It's happening federally too, right? So the corporations just phone up. We want this, you know. Why do you think Jason Kennedy did that? You think he did that because I talked to our immigration professionals. She told us that. Some of these corporations just want their more migrants. They're cheaper and there's less hassle. They don't have to retrain them.
Can I say one thing? I'd just like to encourage you guys to rethink your abortion stance.
Sure.
I'm strongly against it, and I think there's a lot of different points that can go towards that argument, but But aside from that, I'm a truck driver, and are you familiar with the Humboldt accident and that situation? And it's too bad that Mark has left here, because we can talk more about the immigration thing. And a direct result of that, that's kind of like a side effect of what's been going on, because I worked for 10 years in northern Alberta in Fort McMurray, and as a truck driver, and what I have seen as a truck driver is my wages, like you were saying, are stagnant. And we don't make more money. As a matter of fact, we make less money out there around other people, and that's a direct result to the hordes of truck drivers that have migrated up there from as you're familiar with, like the Calgary, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And the Humboldt situation is a direct result of that. I've seen it with my own eyes, I've lived through it for 10 years. But would you support a red seal program for truck drivers, possibly, to make an actual profession, just like, say, a welder or a machinist or a millwright is a certified red seal welder, machinist, millwright? Would you consider trying to create a legislation that would reflect the same kind of training qualifications in a 4-year graduated program to graduate transport truck driver, considering we're driving propane, fuel tankers, and whatnot? It's a really dangerous world in the truck world. Would you consider supporting it?
100%, yeah, 100%. Regardless of that tragedy, terrible tragedy, we would consider it regardless.
Yeah.
And
there were charges laid in that, if people don't know or are familiar with that. Fair enough.
I think, wasn't there just a case of at the airport in Toronto, a truck back into the plane? Yeah.
Fuel truck as well.
A fuel truck backing into an airplane.
Interesting.
Again, it's incompetence, and it's a large part due to what you're just saying now. It's that vacuum of low wages, and it's a lack of training experience, and it's people are dying. People will die.
Yeah.
I mean, we're looking at a small macro, evolution of this thing. It's just started. We open up the mass immigration in 10 years. What will it look like?
Exactly. And this is what we want. We want people to give us feedback on our policies. You know, like, I mean, we're not perfect. We're not perfect. We're doing the absolute.
Listen, get back to the abortion thing. I was going to make one point about the abortion thing. I hate to go back to it, but I find this one shocking that people would support that. And say it's a choice. The choice is created in the bedroom, at whatever point that is in your lives. That's where the choice began. Okay, and secondly, if a man stabs a pregnant woman in the stomach and the baby dies, is that not murder? Or if they both die, is it 2 people get charged for murder? I don't think in Canada it is, but I know in the United States it is. That's still a life. Like, we consider a baby in the womb a life in certain circumstances, but when it's convenient to certain people, it's not a life all of a sudden. I think it's really easy to see that this is a life. It may be inconvenient, but we can I'd like to see you support, like you were saying, adoption and other methods, and
that's our approach, but it is a complex subject. For example, it's not always in the bedroom. For example, what about rape? I know it's a very small amount of cases, but we got to consider that. But also the scenario of the fact that if the woman has a child, she's going to die. Right? Those scenarios. Also the fact, another scenario that has to be considered, if the kid's going to come out extremely disabled to the point where, they're not going to have a life, really. I'm talking extreme disability,
Well, I mean,
there's different scenarios we got to look at.
There's tremendous amounts of mistakes when it comes to mapping a baby in the womb as to whether they're going to be defected or not. I'd also like to point out there's a guy, you can look him up on the internet, that was a failed abortion, I think in Ukraine or in Russia, and he basically has no limbs. He was a failed abortion that survived.
Oh my God.
And he lived, and he's got artificial, that's just one example. There's also many children of rape and incest who have survived and moved on with their lives and become members of society.
We've actually heard examples of that.
I get it, it's unfortunate, don't get me wrong, but there's still people. There's still people.
No, it's a good point. We've actually heard that. Another thing to consider too is we need to hold the male accountable, but at the same time we need to make sure they have rights, because it's their job too, so we need to find a balance there.
Right.
So between those two, and we feel there's weakness right now in those 2 areas that need to be shored up, because their rights aren't really being respected. And other scenarios,
the woman's on her own, right? I'm not saying in all cases, but that's something we need to look at. But end of the day, some people say it's not the woman's body. We believe if the baby's in her body, it's part of her, right?
Yeah.
So we have to be careful there, and we just want people to make the right decisions. We would encourage them. Like I said, our main approach, actually, we would cut off federal funding for a person. I don't know if you looked at our policy, and leave it up to the provinces, but we want to encourage adoption whenever possible and even pay.
Well, see, that's the big slap in the face too, is that we're paying for horses and we don't agree with it. At least I don't, but I'm paying for it. And it's just,
it's coming out of provincial.
I mean, at the very least, I agree with you on that you know, we cut the funding and, you know, but I really seriously think, you know, life is life. I think it's really important, especially when we talk about the population and trying to revive the population count. I mean, I think it's vital that we rethink this specifically.
No, it's a good point.
And the other is, I'll end it on this, Mr. Garvey, is that what you talk about the rape and incest, and those are minor.
They are minor.
Tiny percentage of the abortions that are going on today. There's a vast majority of them are just matters of convenience, and has nothing to do with health or what created it. And that, you know, these are really big factors when you look at the numbers, because I know you're a numbers guy, but I think that's a big deal, and it plays into it, you know.
Yeah, I feel we have a good balanced policy.
Yeah.
And we're open to feedback, so send it to us.
Yeah. So about that red seal thing, though, you agree with that? Like, how would you go about, like,
setting up,
like, for truckers becoming certified and making it an actual trade?
Yeah. We'd have to look at it. We figure the big truck companies are pushing against that because they figure there'll be more cost, they have less control. Yeah. So, but we got to think of the truckers themselves. And do what's best for public safety, the welfare of truckers, also consider the trucker companies. But it sounds like a reasonable thing, but we got to keep the regulation to a minimum.
Right.
But we saw with the wireless industry, in the Harper regime, they actually they completely deregulated the wireless. So they went to that extreme, and what happened was Canada now has the highest wireless rates in the Western world. And they created an oligopoly out of TELUS, Rogers, and Bell. They ate up all the competition. So you got to find a balance there.
Yeah, just stay away from regulation.
Yeah, so that's something we're willing to look at. We're going to get a lot of resistance from these truck companies.
Yeah.
Because they like the deregulation. Less cost. But we got to look at the whole picture, right? We're not into regulation, but you got to have some regulation.
Right.
Because we saw what happened with the wireless. That's a good example. The bigger fish eats the smaller one when you completely deregulate, and we get it's a pretty ugly scenario. And Canadians are paying the price now on their bills, monthly wireless bills. And these companies, they're not just Bell, TELUS, and Rogers. They own a lot of other companies, like Virgin and Fido. They own all those companies. They have like 90% of the market. And that's why we're paying double wireless rates for basic packages compared to Germany. Double. So don't get fooled by deregulation and how that's going to promote freedom. Because that's gonna result in higher costs, less competition, less freedom. So you need to find a balance.
Balance, yeah.
But a lot of this stuff is connected to the big players influencing. You know that. That's why things don't get done. And that's why Canadians are left second. And I believe, I'm pretty sure that a lot of this immigration is driven by companies. And like I said, I talked to our immigration professionals, and they tell us, these big companies, they want these workers. They're cheaper, they're easier, they come and work, and...
I think that's a part of it, but I also do think that it ties into, actually, pretty much all the things on your platform kind of point back to the agenda and the 2030 and the Agenda 21 and all the UN agendas all seem to, everything that's going on that you're discussing on your platform, can you tie it back into the UN agenda?
Yep.
And, but switching gears, I was talking to these young fellows here earlier, it's great to see some younger guys that are interested in politics. But I was telling them about the Banking Act of Canada and the Comer versus the Banking Act of Canada and that whole lawsuit, trying to get them up to speed on what goes on. Because I don't think these young fellows know what actually happened. And it happened to me as well. I was born right after, or right before, these changes took effect, which were never legislated. There was no vote, there was no referendum, we never had a choice. And yet our economy was hijacked by...
Yeah, that was in 1974. It's a complex subject, but they shifted the public lending right of the Bank of Canada to central banks. They now print our money. It's called a fiat currency. Just paper, ones and zeros. They print it, they charge interest, compound interest on that money every time they print it. The real tragedy of the banking in Canada, ever since that happened, there's been an over 800% increase in the money supply in Canada. This is connected to the huge inflation. The more money supply, printing money is inflation. As soon as you put money in there, you're creating inflation. Things cost more, the dollar's worth less. So that's what's going on. The real downside of the banking, and that's something we want to deal with, we're paying over, I figure now it's around $64 billion a year in debt service payments to banks. I think it's 64 billion, it might be more now, nationally. It's over 30 billion federally, so that means less service, less benefits for the Canadian people, the pie's getting smaller. We got to deal with this issue. Another problem with the banking, I'm not going to go too much into it. The Canadian currency, the Canadian dollar, is tied to other fiat currencies. Way back in the beginning of 20th century, it was tied to the gold standard. That was backing the dollar. Now it's tied to the US dollar, other fiat currencies. If they collapse, we collapse. So we want to get back to the gold standard in Canada. We also want to get back to the true Bank of Canada. We would get back to the 1934 Bank of Canada Act, amend that act, it needs amendment, but we could use that as base legislation to enact what we call the People's Bank. It would be working for the people rather than for central banks.
Well, isn't it true that there were no amendments made to the Banking Act of Canada to do what they did? Like, we still have, I think current legislation definitely needs reform, but I think the core the core workings of the Bank of Canada Act still encompass our own rights to print and issue our own money in Canada.
I'm pretty sure it should opt up.
Wasn't that the basis of the Comer versus Bank of Canada?
I think we have to, as far as I know, we have to go back to the 1934 Bank of Canada when they first created that act.
Right.
In 1938, it became a national bank. They did do an amendment.
Right.
But that still requires, I've read that act. It's online. I encourage you to take a look at it. It requires amendment.
I have.
Yeah, it requires amendment and just to tweak it.
Yeah.
But we got to get back to that, and that's a lot of money that's being thrown out.
Well, I think a lot of people here have questions, and the fellow that had left had questions about, bringing up the population and whatnot, but this Banking Act also can tie into helping the economy as well. And helping the Maritimes and helping it'll reduce the interest debt that we're paying. If we stop today, it's still going to take us, a couple decades probably. And as I was telling this young fella here, it's I'm almost 50 years old. This poor young fella's going to have to deal with it soon. And my daughters and my son are going to have to deal with it. And it's important that we act now, stop the interest now, and begin the recovery when they get old.
Yeah, that's, Canada's a great country, but that's when we turned for the worse economically. Back in 1974, you just look at the debt. Canada didn't really have any debt federally up to that point, and then it's just grown steadily. We're now approaching $700 billion federal debt. We're a debtor nation, and it's only, what happens is the government gets in, let's say Trudeau, it could have been Harper. Harper added $144 billion to the federal debt. You wouldn't know that. It's passed on to the next government.
Yep.
Trudeau is on pace. If he gets in the second term, he'll be on pace for Harper. So they just keep passing it on. It's not just Canada, but this is going to bankrupt the country. It's not fiscally responsible. The big losers are the Canadian people, because it's our tax dollars that are funding it. So we got to address that. As far as I know, we're the only federal party that's addressing that issue. It has to be addressed.
Yeah, you are the only party.
Yeah, it has to be addressed. A lot of people don't want to talk about it, but I think it's at the root of our economic troubles. I love Canada, and we got to deal with that.
Well, it's interesting to note as well that it was Pierre Elliott Trudeau in '74 that changed this currency problem. It was him that did it.
Of course.
And now we've got his son. Now we're being damaged by his son with all the hate speech bullcrap and like the stuff that this guy stands for. We're dealing with that now because of his offspring. And this is a direct result of it, the cultural Marxism that thinks they can impose their moral superiority on everybody else by not allowing us to just sit here and talk about the issues in Canada. It's incredible.
Just to let you know, the battery is down to 5%.
I don't think so.
5%.
You guys have big mouths and you interrupt everything.
Take it outside so you can talk out there. But I just want to make one final point. We can talk out there, but a lot of people blame the Liberals, but we actually looked into the data. We believe in being fair. Actually, since 1968, the Conservatives have added over, I think it's $454.8 billion to the federal debt. The Liberals have added $214.9 billion to the federal debt. Both are irresponsible, but the Conservatives have added the lump share. It was primarily Mulroney and then followed by Harper that contributed that, but that is a fact. I asked people to fact check that, because Conservatives try to make up they're fiscally responsible when they're really not. And actually, if you add on to that, the Liberals have been in power, I think they've been in power 7 years more during that time. But both are wrong, and we're going to have to address these issues. We're going to close it off here. I want to thank everyone for coming, and we want to thank the people that are opposing us for being respectful, and we really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.